You're listening to Thunderheads, a podcast for Thunder fans by Thunder fans.
Welcome to Thunderheads. I'm Brandon Soul, joined by the Thunder Tie himself, Mr. Justin Wright.
He better be worth it. He better go home and invent a cure disease. Yeah, I know. I knew it was going to happen. It's Mark's fault. I'm nervous.
We're not even going to let you get through it. But you can tell us where it's from if you want, because no one was going to get it.
I didn't know what that was.
Saving Private Ryan.
Oh.
Yeah.
I've never seen Saving Private
What?
Ryan. Is that bad?
What?
That's pretty weird.
The doctor's in the house. It's Robert Larson.
Hey.
Okay.
Yep.
Of course, we have the dark and stormy Jason Lewis.
Yes, sir.
We have a very special guest today. You can hear him every day on the Sports Animal from 11 to 2. He's been a staple of Oklahoma sports media for a long time. He's an inspiration to all of us here at Thunderheads. We welcome in Mr. Mark Rodgers.
What's up, guys? Thanks for the invitation.
Absolutely.
Looking forward to this.
Thanks
Got
for
some
being
good beer here.
You don't know what you got yourself into, man.
We've made it, though.
Never had talking points.
I think
for a
we've
show.
officially made it.
Is this it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're podcasting from Twisted Spike today, so it might be a little echoey. We're in this huge room, but it's really cool in here. You guys got to check it out. All right, let's kick it off hot. We haven't got to talk about this yet. I've heard you talk about it a little bit, Mark. Carmelo Anthony to Oklahoma City. Bill Simmons tweeted out, caused a storm, right? He said Carmelo and Oklahoma City are officially circling each other, something like that.
Right.
So, is this even... First off, let's start off here. What's worth giving up for Melo for this team?
We had a lot of discussion and some arguments on the show. I think I value Melo about as less as anybody does on the market. You would have to give up probably Ennis. You have to give up that
sure,
salary. He'd have to okay a trade to Oklahoma City. But anyone and everyone that I talk to thinks Melo is going to Houston.
Yeah.
They just have to work the deal out, and it's going to happen eventually at some point. Even so much so is that he doesn't want to go to play in Cleveland, which I think tells you everything you need to know about what's going on in Cleveland, is that everybody knows LeBron is leaving after next year. Or at least that's what he's saying right now.
That's what it seems like.
Yeah.
But I just don't, again, I think people are nailing it when they say if you get the Melo that understands that he's a third option, that he's going to be a guy that shoots, wide open jumpers or can penetrate if people are trying to close out on threes, and I think he would be a good piece. But I don't know. I don't know that you can turn a Melo if he thinks that at this point in his career that he's not going to want to dominate the ball and stop the ball.
I picture him as a third option on a team that he's never been that before. I mean, he's been the number one option on a team his whole career. He hasn't really been in a lot of good situations over his career. So it's kind of hard to evaluate what is his fault and what isn't his fault, I feel like.
I almost seem like it would be like Olympic Melo, if you could make him be that.
Well, he had a hot Olympics. He kind of fell off a little bit.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he's a very capable catch and shooter, so that's kind of exciting to think about fitting in the Thunder roster.
He crushed the Thunder here last year
in the
first quarter. I think he had 19 in the first quarter. But, he's still – I think he's still capable. If you look at his numbers, they've gone down every year since he turned 28. I think he averaged 27 that season. So, but he's still averaging over 22 a game.
Right. I mean, he's still one of the best scorers in the NBA.
That's right.
I mean, he could be a perfect complementary piece to a championship contender. I don't know, though. Is it too big of a risk to even entertain for Sam Presti at this point?
I think that
if it were a possibility,
you got to give a lot of credit to Presti for what he was able to do to rebuild the roster. I think that he doesn't want or doesn't like having that $40 million committed to the center position. So I think that if there was something they could get for Ennis in return that would be pretty good, I think he'd like to do that. I'm a big Ennis fan.
Yeah.
I like his production, and it's needed off the bench because he's a great option. You can go down and give him the ball, and he is amazing in the paint. I don't think that his defense is that big a hindrance to me. I mean, he looked terrible. There's some comical moments in the Rocket series, but there's a lot of teams in the NBA that still play with a big. I mean, at least one big. So you can keep him out there in the regular season, but they've got to worry about what the production is going to be off the bench if they would go get another guy to say start like a star, like a Melo.
Well, would they just stagger them then at that point?
I don't know. Yeah,
you
would have. You could. I mean, I think you could at that point. And I think we're going to see a little bit of that this year with George and Westbrook.
Yeah, I hope so, for sure.
I think it's one thing with Melo, though, it's those crunch time lineups that excites me. If he,
that's a good point.
The options are endless at that point. You have Paul George, you have Russell Westbrook, and you have Carmelo Anthony.
Yeah.
You have, and all those guys can just kind of go get a bucket however you want. You don't have to run the best, most beautiful offense in the world. So that's kind of what excites me about that.
Right. That is a good point. In games that are close, you're going to have a pretty good lineup out there on the floor.
But then again, I mean, you don't necessarily want to play as if games are always close. You kind of just want to be the best for the season. Like you said, Enes Kanter, though, he would probably have to be a piece in that trade. They already have Joakim Noah, who they're paying basically the same salary to. Mm-hmm. And for a longer period of time, why would they want both those contracts?
because they are the Knicks.
That's right. That's the only answer. You never know what somebody's going to do. It's like the Pacers, what they took in that deal for Paul George. But I think that the chance of that happening is very slim.
Yeah,
Melo to
absolutely.
Oklahoma City.
I mean, he's kind of unwavering on the Houston, or that's it. That's
Right.
all I want.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I mean, New York doesn't have to trade him. I think they want to, though. I mean,
They don't have to trade him, and I don't think they're going to buy him out. I think that they could, they could go through another season with him. So the Rockets, if they're waiting on negotiations, tactics like that, I think they're going to end up having to give up Anderson.
speaking of the Rockets, so do you like that fit if he were to go to Houston?
I don't. Again, I'm not. I'm probably one of Melo's detractors. I think that Houston had something really good this year. I like the way that they had Harden with the ball in his hand, hitting the 3-pointers. They had guys that could really score. They played better defense than they had in a long time, or probably the best defense Mike D'Antoni's teams have ever played.
Yeah.
And then they completely went the other direction.
Yeah.
So I think that they're going to be the most intriguing team of the offseason to watch, just to see how that dynamic works with Paul and James Harden.
It sounds like with Houston, though, they're just slapping a bunch of stuff together.
That's what Daryl Morey does.
Let's see if this will work. We don't know if it'll work. It'll be kind of cool, probably. But let's put Melo with CP3 and let's put him with Harden, which it doesn't seem to make sense on paper. But let's just see what happens. And it's exciting for the fans, right? I mean, if you're going to sell, you're going to sell that. So
I think that's kind of what Morey tries to. He's just trying to collect talent, just to try to go after Golden State a little bit. But we've seen Melo with D'Antoni before. That didn't go so well. I mean, and I think the main thing the Rockets were missing last year was someone to help take that burden off of James Harden. You saw it in the Spurs series. And they got Chris Paul, so that helps a lot. If they get Melo too, it almost like ruins D'Antoni's offense to me, or kind of his entire philosophy.
It does. I mean, I don't know that, and I think Daryl Morey, you're right, is that he's just a guy that likes to make moves. I mean, he's done it several times where he'll go out and try to do anything, but it doesn't hurt to have Chris Paul on the team. But I think that I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't stay about the same level of wins, or maybe take a couple back. Because I think the team's gotten a lot better in the West. And I just want to see how it works. Maybe it works great, but
kind of with all these West moves, that teams that have gotten better, probably the biggest difference you're going to see in all these teams, especially even the Thunder and Rockets, playoffs. That's where it's going to make the difference. You might not see the Thunder just, get a bunch more wins throughout the season. Maybe you will. I don't really think you will.
The West is going to be a lot more difficult also. Everybody got better, or most teams did. So now it's just going to be more difficult for those teams, that all of them that got better. Now you have to try to get wins over those other better teams. So it's
the thing about the Carmelo thing too is I'm done trying to say that it's not going to happen just 100%. I'll leave just because Sam Presti does these things and I'm like, wow, how did he pull that one off? Were you as surprised as probably everyone was when he pulled off the Paul George thing?
Yeah, stunned.
Yeah,
there wasn't any
incredible.
Really discussion of it anywhere. And then to turn the roster around salary-wise, the way that he did, is great. And I think even if the worst nightmare scenario happens, at least you've dumped that Oladipo contract and you can kind of start over again at that point. But I thought that's a great move. And
not only the team that you're throwing out on the court, but kind of the message you send to Russell Westbrook. Like, look, I'm willing to do what I have to do to get you a good team around you.
And I'm a goddamn wizard and can do it. So that's pretty cool.
So on to the Thunder's roster.
Yeah.
How, on paper, in your eyes, how do you see them standing in the West?
Well, I think they're fourth, and they're close. I think they're close to Houston, but it's to me, it's still the same in the top three with San Antonio, Golden State, and then the Rockets. But I think the Thunder are close. I think they're close to close to where Houston is.
That's interesting. You have Houston ahead of them. So do you think regular season, I think I'll pick Houston to have more wins than the Thunder. But I feel like the matchup there, I think the Thunder have an edge on them if they were to meet in the playoffs. Would you agree with that, or you still lean Houston?
Well, I think we'd have to see how it works, but certainly the Thunder were pretty close last year. They just couldn't quite close it out, and we saw all the end-of-game difficulties and Russell being tired or whatever it was.
It was like he finally ran out of gas a little, which was...
The Thunder actually led the majority of that series.
Yeah, that's right.
Crazy.
I think they're really close. I think that those teams are close, and I think, again, the biggest question to me is how are the Rockets going to fit? How are they going to play together?
Yeah.
Do you agree with that, Rob?
Well, that's going to take time, right? Which you could also say about the Thunder.
Right.
With getting Paul George, that's a big change.
But maybe a little less time because you don't have two guys that need the ball all the time, kind of like Chris Paul and James Harden.
Probably. I do. What I found interesting, though, Mark, was that you had the Spurs. I think still, for a lot of people, you probably still just put the Spurs in there. But to me, that's the team that actually I think would probably fall out. If I had to guess, I think the Thunder probably finished second or third with the Spurs probably falling out. So you feel really comfortable with the Spurs going in next season?
It's the system, man. It's Popovich. It's the organization. It's Kawhi Leonard. They've had flaws at the point guard position. It seemed like for the last couple of years, and this year, so they're going to go with Patty Mills until Tony Parker gets healthy and I think comes back and plays. But Ginobili's now 100. What? He's old. Yeah. He's coming back for another year. But their system is so good. They play good basketball.
They pump out 60 wins like nothing.
Yeah, they can do it with their bench.
They don't get beat in the regular season by teams that they shouldn't.
Right.
They're so consistent.
And we've seen from the Thunder that they actually do. They'll drop a game that they really shouldn't in the regular season.
That's right. That's happened a lot in the organization. But I think it's because the Spurs play such good defense, and it's really hard to recognize what they're doing night in and night out. They're holding teams to last year? 90 points.
What's funny is I'm kind of with you, Rob, that I feel like Spurs are going to be that team that will fall down, but it's at the same time you're like, when am I going to stop making this mistake?
Right.
and just saying the Spurs are going too
every
old.
year.
Yeah,
like,
but when you look at that point guard position and Tony Parker is on the outs, and they have DeJounte Murray that a lot of people are saying is going to be their starting point guard. Patty Mills will come off the bench because he's been that guy. I don't know. It's hard for me to. And Rudy Gay, who knows about that? Like that looks like an upgrade on paper, but who knows how he returns from that Achilles?
I think that would be a little bit of an upgrade on paper for San Antonio. It just again, their system is so good in the playoffs. They might be a little bit more vulnerable because of matchups. The point guard position really is a problem for them. They can't guard anybody.
And that's kind of one matchup that the Thunder have now with adding Paul George. Yeah, they can sit Kawhi on Russell Westbrook. Paul George is still there. But
that was kind of always the Thunder's thing against the Spurs. It's like, hey, we have Russ. You don't have anything. You can't do anything to him.
Yeah, he was always the matchup issue for the Spurs.
Ibaka killed him too.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, for sure.
He was good against San Antonio, but I think, again, they get a lot of it done with their determination and grit in the regular season, and they maybe are a little bit more vulnerable in the playoffs when it comes down to talent.
Thunder have always had the edge on them athletically,
right?
And I think that's kind of where they've won series in the past on them. So you mentioned the Thunder. You still have them fourth. So what worries remain with this team in your eyes?
I think some of the same worries that they had last year. I think the bench is always a concern. Backup point guard, I think they upgraded clearly with bringing Felton in, but I think we've got to always be careful not to overrate these guys just because they're new,
right?
And we see our own guys' limitations when we watch 82 games a year really closely, and we don't see some of the other limitations, and you get excited. So I think that they've got to. I think Andre Robertson, I've been hard on him. He has got to improve. He's got to be able to do things differently. I think with George, he can move more now towards the basket, and he's skilled at that in college.
Yep.
I just don't know that the three-point shots are ever going to come.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
They're not. I think it's fair to you watch him shoot the ball. I mean, the form is broken. He'd have to break it down and redo it.
But like getting Patrick Patterson kind of lets him float back to that 4 position on offense, and then he can kind of guard wings again, I think. So I think they kind of fixed him having to just sit in the corner and hopefully take bad shots.
That's the hope, but he's played with Ibaka too.
Well, I think they tried to do that with him in the playoffs, but then...
they found a way to make him useful in the playoffs, and that is because nobody guards him.
They just don't do it in the...
Yeah.
So what are you expecting out of Raymond Felton this season?
I would say, what do we get out of him? Maybe 18 minutes a game, something like that. Maybe
I think
less.
that'd be good if you get 18 out of Felton.
Yeah, awesome. Just serve as a leadership role and do some things out there. I don't think he has to do too much. I don't think they're going to rely a whole lot on him. I'll tell you, the one thing that I do, I really think Steven Adams has got to be more aggressive. I mean, he's got to. You get the ball has energy. Everybody talks about that. They get him the ball low sometimes in the games, and they make it a priority. You can tell that that's something that Billy Donovan wants to do to get him active. But when he comes in and out of games, sometimes it's like the team just they don't even know he's out there.
Right.
And so obviously he's got to defend the rim. He's pretty good in the pick and roll situations for a guy his size. But I want him to be like a killer. I want him to get out there and whip some people's asses.
Don't you think adding George will kind of lessen the responsibility on him to where teams aren't just automatically doubling him whenever he goes towards the basket?
Clearly, that's going to give him some more room to operate.
Yes.
The Thunder played in a pretty small, court last season because they got some guys out there that can't do a whole lot offensively. So, but yeah, I think that's. When we start talking about what's the best way for the Thunder to improve, well, I think one of the biggest keys is obviously George is going to be that guy, but Steven Adams, is he going to be better than he was last year? And if he's significantly better, then I think that the team can really take a step up.
Yeah, because everyone remembers the Steven Adams from the playoffs the year prior to last.
Right.
And so everyone was expecting big things out of him, and then the Thunder lose Kevin Durant, and I think you saw and Serge Ibaka. And you saw the impact that made on him. Yeah. His responsibility went through the roof. So maybe a year under his his belt, he gets a little better. He improves. He calms down a little bit. He knows what he has to do. The space that will be created by Paul George and Patrick Patterson on the floor, I think, will help him. He'll be able to play within himself. He'll be back to catching those lobs.
Well, when you're 7 feet tall and your two best offensive players on the floor out there with you want to be in the same place you are, you're just not going to have that much success. It was hard for Steven Adams to have success. I think that floor spacing will really help.
Yeah,
he's young. He's got a lot of upside.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Well, let's go to Cantor. You said you're a Cantor fan. How do you think these new acquisitions, George, maybe Felton especially, being able to a guy that can run that second unit, how do you think that helps Cantor?
I think Cantor, obviously, he plays great with Russ. I mean, I'd like to see him on the floor some with him because they're so good in transition. And Cantor's good running the floor. He can finish at the rim. He doesn't necessarily finish with authority, but he can finish. I like his offensive game. I think you put him out there with the second unit, you throw the ball down to him, you force a double team. If you don't force a double team, he's going to score or he's going to get a really good shot. If you do force a double team, then somebody should be open to hit a shot. So
the problem is he can't pass the ball.
It's in the double team, passing out of the double team, he's got to get a little bit better at that. But I think that But I like his game. I think that's what makes the second unit really go.
I think the better your team is, the better he is for your team, if that makes sense. Because he's that guy that, he can go fill it up from the bench. And if he has better players around him, the better he can be for you.
Are you putting a lot of stock into him working on his jumper right now?
I don't care if he works on his jumper. He's got to work on something. I mean, I know Traber was all mad at his 3-point shot, but I hope that – I mean, you want a guy that's the NBA has evolved into a game of 3-point shooting. We all see it. So you want him to be able to hit a 3-point shot. He shot 11% last year from the 3-point line. He didn't take many, which is good. So I think that's overreaction. Is that everybody doesn't everybody work on the 3-point shot?
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
Adams does it sometimes in practice.
Yeah, there's been people say that Steven Adams will actually develop a 3-point shot based on what they've seen in practice and stuff. So we'll see about that.
That'll be interesting.
But like if you can shoot it, like why not try it? Right. Like at least work on it a little, just in case you're in that situation.
It doesn't really make sense to shoot threes when you can't make free throws at a high rate, though.
Yeah,
that's a very good point.
I don't think though they're not gonna be spacing the floor with Ennis at the 3-point line. I think he's gonna continue to have his role.
Yeah, they'll let him shoot that.
So do you expect Ennis to be on this roster at the end of this upcoming season?
I think so. I think that the expectation of him being gone was going to be if they were going to make any kind of move, they had to dump his salary.
Right.
But they dumped Oladipo's salary, which was I think even more optimal to do that. So that when they made that trade, I think that it greatly increased the odds of Cantor coming back.
And I think a lot of that depends on what happens with Paul George and especially Russ. If Paul George goes to the season and he tells Presti, look, I'm not coming back. I'm going to go to L.A. or, probably L.A., and so I'm going to see what happens in free agency. I think then that's whenever we see, well, possibly Cantor's going to go at that point too. If you want to unload salary on for somebody that probably
maybe toss some Kyle Singler in there.
Well, maybe, but Cantor's not really earning his keep, sort of at 20 whatever million he's getting, and so
18.
So I think you could probably see that as a possibility.
Cantor has a player option next year, though, and I think everybody assumed that he was going to opt out
He's
of
picking
his
it
salary.
Up.
And then now the way that the big guys have been paid in the market, you're going to think that he probably opts in. And the Thunder could move that salary. I mean, if he opts in, that somebody could take on that contract knowing it's the last year. But and again, he could fit. I mean, it's not like having him on the team is a terrible thing.
I think that's the worry, though, when you talk about moving Cantor. You got these other bigs out there that there doesn't seem to be a market for. Greg Monroe.
Yeah, we've talked about this several times.
So many times. Jonas Valanciunas.
All of those guys have kind of been on the market, especially Greg Monroe. I've heard talk of him. They're trying to move him in and just there's no bites. So.
But that's where you have to find a way to make him useful. And that's what's hard. You play Golden State in the playoffs. You play Houston in the playoffs. Cantor hasn't been usable. They have to figure that out.
There's those several teams that you just can't really put him out there on.
Really, 3.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
I think it's 3, or 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Who's the third? If it's
Cavs would be my third.
Cavs, right? That's right. And they're gonna stretch you out, and they would get him out in a situation where it would be tough for him to guard people. But
which other teams?
26 other teams that he can go against, and he's gonna fit. And then the Thunder, I think now with George, and I do think Westbrook can defend. I don't think he's a terrible defender. He's aloof. But I think he's capable that you don't have to switch all the time on some of these teams. I mean, you can play some different kind of defenses with the kind of defensive caliber they've got now.
Definitely.
Yeah, on that point, their defense
should be good.
Going to be incredible. Hopefully.
On paper.
I mean, it looks like it.
Well, it's crazy because their defense was pretty good last year. It's the offense that was the problem for the most part. And they look to have gotten better in both both sides of the ball. Let's talk Russ's extension. What's your gut tell you? Is he signing
Oh
this
man,
summer?
everybody, I don't know. It's tough that the people in the organization are really hopeful, and I think maybe you have to wonder if are they just hopeful or do they really feel like something's going to happen. So anyway, I guess that there was a little bit of murmurs that maybe Russell's brother were telling people that he was going to sign the deal a couple of weeks ago, and that's why it kind of shot up in interest. But there's no reason for him to sign it. So
Rob, you've brought that up several times. Like,
why would you? Yeah, you could wait and see what happens with, especially Paul George next year, to see, he could sign it next offseason and still get the same thing. So, he could earn a little bit more money this upcoming season, but why not wait and just see how, see what happens with the team? And it seems to me like that's the most likely scenario.
He's getting paid no matter what.
Yeah,
no matter
if
there's an injury scenario or whatever, he's going to get the money. I think George is interesting. A lot of people that know him or kind of know the situation don't think he's going to come back.
Yeah.
Right.
Just it's a long shot, but you take that risk because you make the team much better. You let these guys play a season and maybe they really like it. I mean, and who knows what's going to happen with the Lakers.
It's like you said earlier, like you dumped Vic's contract, which you weren't all that excited about, like what he did. You signed him for a 6-man role, and then, he kind of had to step up into the starting lineup and wasn't really that impressive in the playoffs. So then you got this year. Yeah, very big understatement. But, I mean, so now you've dumped that contract, and the worst that happens is you got a year to pitch Paul George on staying here.
Unless you, in the NBA, unless you get really lucky with like a Draymond Green situation or somebody early where you're paying a star very little money, you can't pay that kind of money to a guy that's okay if you want to win a championship. If you look at the Cavs, you look at the Cavs and the Warriors, what they're paying their top 4 guys, those are all stars. But teams, the economics of the NBA is so screwed up, man. If you don't have a star on your team, you still got to pay guys.
Right. Because otherwise you have to pay
and that's
fines.
what the Thunder kind of had done. You know what I'm saying? Is that they had Adams and Oladipo on these big contracts. So, again, Adams got more potential to me. Oladipo's he's a good player, but he's not a star.
Right. Yeah, and when you sign a guy like that to that contract, $84 million over 4 years, it kind of seems like you're okay with being mediocre for years.
That's right. That's exactly what it is.
What's crazy to me is that it's almost like they signed him and locked him up long term, knowing that they could then use him as this piece. And, like, it's pretty impressive what they did.
I can't go that far. I know that they would like to they take credit for that way, but I think that they overestimated how good he was.
Yeah,
that's probably more true.
But I guess I think that he should have been when he played in college. He was really seemed like athletic, springy. He's still a good athlete, but a lot of times I think he just kind of settled for being a shooter.
Yeah,
and it doesn't use his athletic ability, and maybe that's a little bit of kind of the attitude that sometimes the Thunder have with Russell, because he's the leader of the team, is that there's a little bit of defensive ambivalence going on out there from time to time. But Oladipo should be a much better defensive player than I thought he was last year.
You never really saw Russ and Oladipo mesh very well. It would always look kind of awkward. It was never perfect.
In my head, when he first moved here, I was like, oh, this is going to be like an incredibly athletic backcourt. And then all of a sudden it was like, well, he's just spinning around trying to make layups.
The problem with Oladipo is he couldn't make anybody better. Like whenever he was out there, even if it was a pick and roll, he would roll and then he would go around the pick and then he would shoot. Like there was no, whenever that second unit was out there, especially with Samaje Christon, like there was no help there.
Right,
and
it would have made the team
issue.
so much better if he was able to do those things, pass the ball, finish at the rim. That's amazing that Presti was able to dump that contract in exchange for Paul George. In Sabonis. Throw Sabonis in there, who, Rob, you're super down on.
How'd you feel about Sabonis, Mark?
Well, he was a rookie.
He was, but
39% from the
field. So even whenever you have a rookie, like I mean, you want to see something there, right? And so I just felt like whenever you're watching him, and I was way too harsh on him. I'll say that. But
you really hate him.
You want to see like something to sort of look forward to, and I just felt like with Sabonis, to me, it was never going to be more than probably a role player that you really couldn't count on, or he's just going to be a bench player to me. That's sort of what I saw, and so I thought that trade to get rid of Oladipo, who I think underperformed based on $84 million, and then to unload Sabonis and try to sort of show something to Russ. I thought it was it was incredible. And so my question to you though is, we talked about Russ's extension. Let's say Russ doesn't sign at all. You go into next season. Do you risk the KD situation
Yes.
where he can just run? So
I do.
you're all in. You're saying
I'm all in.
Okay.
I'm all in. And another thing, you can't. I think when they made the trade for George, they eliminated the possibility of trading Russell because you can't trade him at the deadline because you're gonna have a pretty good record.
You're gonna be
If you tank, then you tank to middle of the pack or the 8th spot or whatever, and you don't end up in the lottery or very high in the lottery.
Sure.
And it sucks, but it's the way that the Thunder got built. It's the way that the 76ers are building to be pretty good. Is it, man? If you lose stars like that, you're going to have to
back to the drawing board.
Go to the draft to get another star because free agents don't usually come to these markets in the NBA. They want to go play in the big markets. So,
yeah, I mean, the Thunder don't get any free agents. That's exactly why Presti did this, right? Because he's taking his chance here. He's like, hopefully, even if it's a 10% chance we can get Paul George to stay.
The whole thing is, if you don't make the Paul George trade, then you might lose Russ anyways. Probably for sure because you didn't try to get the team better. And then you're stuck with Depot. And that's your team. Like that, I think it's a no-lose situation, really, for him.
I agree when you say no chance do you trade Westbrook. No. I mean, he's a hero to Oklahoma City. Like, these fans, they might be bigger Westbrook fans than they are Thunder fans. And I think that's a big worry to me.
It's concerning, right? I mean, Harden was traded. You know, people criticize that trade. Adams hopefully will pan out. So that will somewhat look better.
Probably not to James Harden's ability.
Well, no, but for where the position
that
Presti was in. But then you lose Kevin Durant. Let's say you lose Russell Westbrook. Like, Presti is at that point, I think you're really sort of, you're starting to question.
Well, that's true. I think that he, I think there's a good chance that Russell does end up here. I mean, long term, I don't know. He's kind of he's a one-man wolf pack. I don't see him wanting to go team up with anybody. He won the MVP. I think that those kind of individual accolades do mean something to him.
For sure.
I mean, he's got a lot of street cred out there for the season that he had. So I just think that the narrative of last season, Russell really played poorly in those games against Golden State and got beat by that superior team. But I think that after the season was over, there was a lot of probably peer praise from him of just, man, you had an incredible year, triple-double.
And
KD kind of had those weak moments after the finals where I don't know what he was doing. He lost his mind, going at everybody on Twitter and.
He's kind of still doing that.
I saw that. I saw some
weird.
tweets yesterday.
He called some kid a piece of shit for no reason. Like, this is a little weird.
Yeah, he's now he seems comfortable now. Like, he can just do whatever he wants because he got that ring that he wanted so bad. That's kind of what it is. I have a question for you, Mark. Do you think a team can win a championship with Russell Westbrook as its best player?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I do. I think I think that absolutely they can. I mean, what is he? I think that he will. I think that if he's got better people around him, then he's going to be more likely to share the ball, less usage. We should see that this year, or I mean, Paul George will implode. I mean, I think that they're going to have to rely on each other, and I do think that I think that he's that competitive that he's always trying to do what's best for the team. But I think he'll mature a little bit too mentally as he keeps getting older. I know he's been in the NBA now 9 years, but
but on that point, like, I kind of feel like last season, where he was just you're the only hope for us to win. Like, you have to be incredible every single night. Don't you think that, like, kind of might make him a little bit more apt to be like, oh, now I have help. Like, I don't know what to think of that. I mean, at times I think people have been critical of him for doing too much.
Which is fair,
right? But at times last year, I wanted him to.
Yeah.
I wanted him to be like,
it's like, please God, save us.
You got to get after it because it's and a lot of people are standing out there watching him. So I think Paul George will have to learn how to play with him.
I think it will take some time.
What I'm excited to see is if the Thunder can actually implement some off-the-ball movement, some plays where maybe they can get Russ even off the ball, not off the ball, but like, just running around some screens, get some more movement in the offense because Paul George is really good at that.
Yeah.
And so I'm interested, do you see Russ kind of toning it back a little bit this year, or do you see him going full throttle, another MVP style season?
I don't think he's going to average a triple-double.
Right.
I do think it will be dialed back a little bit, and although he made it look so easy last year doing it, I mean, I don't know that he's not going to play worse, So, and his 3-point shooting got a lot better as the season went along. So
he shot too many of them, but it got better.
Yeah, he did.
Right. I mean, he
lost his legs in the fourth quarters and would kind of just start chucking stuff.
You really saw it. Like, the first time I've ever seen Russell Westbrook tired in my life was in the playoffs. In the fourth quarters when you're like, man, there's no hope. There's no hope because he's all the Thunder have. and he's just tired.
Everything was short. You could see it in the shot. It was short. Like, okay, he's just tired.
Or he'd notice it's short and then just launch it over the rim. It's like, welp, there that goes.
Yeah, that's with a jump shooter. You can always see it in their legs.
Yep.
That's how it always happens. Okay, Paul George, percentage chance he stays after next year.
I put it at 15. Yeah. Maybe 20. I don't know. I think the team
It's going up.
Since I'm getting it's
getting better by the
That's
second.
right. I'm hoping 15 to 20. But I think there's so many things to be determined. I don't think he knows at this point. I don't think the Thunder know at this point. And it'll be fun to watch this season play out, and hopefully it will work well enough that they both stay here, because that'd be great.
So how annoying is it going to be to watch people ask him questions in every single city that he goes to about what he's going to do?
You better just be ready for it. I mean, you better be ready.
It won't be as bad as Durant. I mean, everybody wanted Durant, like the Wizards wanted him, and all that kind of stuff. So
the only thing that can make it just as bad, though, is that it's the Lakers. The Lakers are just, how it is in the media.
Game, oh man, any of those games are going to be rough.
So realistically, in your mind, what does it take to convince him to stay?
Well, I think the chemistry is going to have to be good between those guys. I think that he wants to win, and I think the Thunder, if they can prove that, I don't think they can beat Golden State if Golden State's healthy. I don't think Paul George or Sam Presti or really anyone thinks that.
Right.
But if they can get to the finals, if they can beat a team the caliber of Houston or the Spurs, they're going to be close to Golden State, as close as anybody is, maybe the Cavs. And with LeBron leaving next year, it really might shake up the league. So,
kind of in my mind, I think you have to make the Western Conference Finals. You have to, the chemistry, like you said. You got to push Golden State a little bit. If you can grab 2 games off of them and make them feel like, oh, this team's coming. They're coming after us a little bit, as Russ said in the last Golden State game.
He is coming.
I think that's kind of what it takes. Do you think he fits seamlessly with Russ, or as seamlessly as everyone has been kind of saying?
I don't know. That's a good question. I think that. I would think be a little bit better fit than KD.
Yeah,
because he's got a little bit more of a take it to the basket type guy. I guess Durant, did the same, but
sometimes,
yeah,
not in Game 6.
That should be a good fit. He's a good player. He's an all-star. He can really score. So I think that those guys should be able to play well together.
Yeah, you would think so. I hope so.
Transition passing game, passing lane defense and stuff like that. I think that the Thunder should be able to score some points off turnovers.
It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a really fun season. That's something you have to remind fans of too. Even myself, you got to be like, just enjoy this season. Don't think too far past it.
Yeah, right.
Where Russ leaving, Paul George leaving.
Well, we said that with KD before. It was like, guys, just enjoy this while it's here.
Yeah, that was a mistake.
Yeah. Because it left.
That's absolutely true. Is that the Thunder have been so lucky because they've been so good for so long, but this is a good team.
Yeah,
it's gonna be really fun to watch. Way better than I think would have been if the same team comes back.
Oh,
yeah.
It was kind of funny how everybody, we were all just like, well, this is our team, I guess.
For 4 or 5 years.
Here we go. Were you guys kind of feeling the same way there? Hopefully people get better.
Remember the Golden State games, they came back and they played the first one here.
Right.
And you're thinking, the Thunder are going
train.
There's a. I thought.
I think it's on top of us.
Let's hope it's a train.
That's my mic.
Oklahoma City's really kind of got the Warriors where they want them. They played in San Antonio, and maybe this is the Thunder I think the Thunder are gonna win this game.
Right.
It's just
and it was
disaster.
It was bad.
That just shows you how good that the Warriors are.
Yeah, they were just low on talent last year too. The Thunder, offensive talent specifically. Yeah. Okay, last thing we got to get from you, Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
Who's the bad guy in this situation? Is it Kyrie? Is it LeBron? Is it the Cavs? Is it Kevin Durant?
I think there's
It's always Kevin Durant.
It's always KD's
Let's blame it on KD. There's more going on here, I think, than we understand, and I think that stems from LeBron wavering on where he wants to be.
Yep.
So I don't think anybody wants to be in Cleveland if LeBron is. And LeBron, again, I think he's doing all these things and talking and. They had to ask him all the questions last year about Melo, and LeBron is basically the GM of the team.
Right.
So when he's making those decisions, I can see how it might be easy for a player to get his feelings hurt just because they didn't win in the finals. It wasn't Kyrie Irving's fault. And if LeBron is out there telling everybody, I want to play with this guy, I want to play with that guy, or I may want to do this, or I may leave, then if you're invested in your team, you don't want that guy as your teammate, right? I mean, even if he's a superstar, why are you going to leave? Why are you going to leave us?
Yeah.
But I keep thinking it's going to get worked out. But the longer and longer it goes, they had that press conference today.
Yeah, it was
the more
weird.
It looks like they're probably going to do it. And maybe he goes to Minnesota and they get Wiggins back? I don't know.
LeBron's working out with Eric Bledsoe in Vegas, and so there's speculation.
Well, LeBron showed up at the summer league game in a purple shirt for the Lakers game. Like I think LeBron,
he has all this like subtext.
He does. He really does. He's not that in your face kind of guy, and he's on Twitter doing all these kind of weird things. And so I talked to a couple of people that had said Kyrie's not as bad of a guy in this as you think.
Right.
And I think that's I was tougher on him in the beginning, but I think looking at it from that perspective a little bit, I can see why he's acting this way. I don't think he thinks he's a, top 3 player in the league right now, but I do think he could be frustrated with dealing with this LeBron all the time.
Well, did you see Richard Jefferson's? He was on a podcast where he was talking about how this guy has been through some stuff, man. Ever since he's been in Cleveland, it's just been turmoil year after year. And so, I feel for the guy a little bit. He finally got a team that can go to the finals every year, and now it's just they fire their GM, and then this is happening.
Yeah, the Cavs are a bit of a disaster.
This is weird.
Kyrie would be great in Minnesota. That would be a fun team to watch.
Yeah, I don't want that to happen.
I don't want it to happen at all.
They might not guard anybody, but they may score 140 points a game.
Yeah.
He reminds me a little bit, not the same size or position comparison, but to Tracy McGrady. Because I think he can score. You go to a game and you might see him drop 45, and he does it in incredible fashion with high layups, banking off the top, and pull up threes, falling out of bounds. But
I always say
love the
Iverson.
scoring game. Yeah,
he's like the new
Iverson's
Iverson.
a good comparison too.
This reminded me of we went to a game in Cleveland and watched him pull up for a 3 in front of KD's face and just take the game. And that was
when the Cavs were bad.
A sad moment. And they were terrible, and we lost to them.
I don't think you can.
No LeBron Cavs. You guys went to Cleveland, huh?
Yeah.
We lived in Ohio for a couple years.
All right.
About 6 months.
So we drove up to Cleveland, caught a game when the Thunder were there. No, it was cool, except
for the end.
Except for Kyrie. He had 40 something.
Oh, it was crazy.
Man, that's how he always kills the Thunder, though. He always kills the Thunder. That's the thing, though. I don't think you can say that he's the bad guy here. If anything, he's the good guy, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so as well.
He's letting them know, I want out. I got a ring. He's got his ring. He wants to be the guy.
Well, nobody to blame but LeBron, I think. Because LeBron sort of showed that, whenever he leaves, that team's going to be bad.
Yeah. So why you got to wait around for LeBron?
Yeah, so why not get out while you can?
He's going to get out before LeBron gets out because I think the writing's on the wall. I mean, you look at Carmelo never mentioned Cleveland. I mean, it seems like Carmelo would love to play. Obviously, he would love to play with LeBron. He never mentioned Cleveland. Chauncey Billups doesn't want to be the GM. I mean,
clearly there's a reason.
That's
for that.
all those signs that are pointing to the fact that LeBron is going to be he's out.
Yeah.
And I don't. I mean, if he wants to go, I don't know where he would want to go. But
sounds like the Lakers.
I mean,
he could come here if he wanted to.
Yeah.
I mean,
it'd be funny if he went to the Clippers, just because the Clippers. I don't know.
Just 'cause.
All right, before we let Mark go, I got to get a prediction from everyone. Where does Kyrie end up, Jason?
I'm gonna say probably Minnesota. Or actually, I'm gonna go Knicks. I'm gonna go the Knicks.
Justin.
Starting the season or ending the season?
What?
Both, I guess.
Well, I think he starts the season in Cleveland. I don't think they get something done.
Okay.
And then
bold prediction.
Man.
They do expect him at camp, apparently.
Yeah, I'm gonna say New York as well.
Miami.
No, that's a nice dark horse there. I don't think it's the Knicks because I don't think Melo's going to go in that deal. But I think it's got to be Cleveland. I think it as bad as it looks at this point.
You think they work it out?
Looks at this point.
It is still the finals.
You have to work it out. You have to work it out. LeBron's going to have to go and say this, that, or the other to him. And again, it's because he may want out, but they're gonna have to work a deal for him.
Yeah.
And
it's
if they
not
get
like they're just
Wiggins
gonna...
and something else, I think that's okay. But Kyrie's a better player than Wiggins.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Way better.
That's the problem with trading a guy like that, is you're not going to get the value back.
The thing is, though, if Cleveland sees that LeBron is out the door, maybe they do want that young talent in return. That's the only thing I could argue. The Spurs is scary to me.
Oh, God, that would be
But I don't know what the Spurs have.
They can't. I don't think they could put enough together.
Like LaMarcus, which he wants out, but...
Right.
If you're Cleveland,
Kyle
is that what
Anderson?
you're trying to get back? Is LaMarcus Aldridge?
No. I don't think
him and Kevin Love, what do you do with that?
Right.
They're not going to have that. That's clearly not going to make the Cavs better at beating Golden State.
Yeah,
No.
not at all.
And that's all LeBron's interested in.
Yeah.
Correct. And that's
the
all
only
the
thing
Cavs
he
should be
wants.
interested
Yeah.
in, too, I think, is that, they want to try to get those they want to get more of what they have, pick and roll defenders and guys that can shoot the three.
Yeah, because if they could challenge or beat Golden State, like that's more of a chance for LeBron to stay around. Like that's the only chance for LeBron to stay around.
It
really.
Doesn't sound like there's a chance.
It's probably not happening.
So that's
sorry
not the
that.
biggest prediction we need from Mark, though.
Ooh.
What's the biggest prediction?
The biggest prediction we need involves Big Brother.
Oh, yeah, tonight.
Yes, tonight.
DBR's
God.
rolling. What do you want to know about Big Brother?
Everything I want to know.
Who's going to win?
Yeah, who's your favorite in
Who
the house?
you got?
I don't know who my favorite is. I like Paul because he's interesting
I like Paul too.
and he
Rob
stirs it
hates
up.
Paul.
I can't stand Paul. I couldn't stand Paul
Paul's like
last year.
Paul's the only guy that plays the game, though.
He's fun.
Yeah.
Right?
Cody's playing the game.
Yeah.
Cody too.
I couldn't stand Cody in the first week, but now like the rest of them are just like sheep.
Yeah.
And Cody's like the only one that'll actually stand up and.
So
I need the drama.
you don't have some respect for Paul? The way that
don't
he's
like
done
him.
it, he's controlled the house as
I'll
much.
admit he's a good game player.
Yeah, he's good.
I just don't like him.
You just don't like his beard that you can't grow? What is it?
Wait, I can grow. Mark, I can grow a solid beard.
Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
I wish I couldn't. But I like Mark until he started crying in the.
Every
that's
episode,
Right.
In the every-
You can't do that.
the biggest guy just cries every single time.
The whole cast is kind of crybabies though a little bit. Like
It's a soft cast.
Yeah.
No question about it. And if you let Josh get under your skin, you're not going to be in the game
Yeah.
long.
I think
so
the thing
he's
that
gonna
gets
go.
under people's skin with Josh the most is the fact how dumb he is. It's not even that he's good at his trash talk. It's that he's so dumb. You just can't. You're just like, you're so dumb.
You just laugh. You got to laugh at a guy like that. You can't lower yourself to that level
Yeah,
of
no, you're
arguing
right.
with him. I mean, he's terrible. I don't know. I don't. Who's going to win? I mean, I don't.
It looks like Paul's going to win.
They're going to get rid of Paul at some point. I would
hope
think.
so. I hope
It's
so.
got to be Cody though, unless someone finally decides to make a move, and no one is.
The
doing
rodeo
anything.
guy has got a decent social
Jason.
game, but I don't know that he's not playing to the point where he's building up anything that's strong.
I think,
But I don't think nope. Everybody likes him. He's not a threat.
Right.
So you know what I'm saying? The key to this is staying in the game and not doing something stupid to get
Right.
yourself kicked out early.
I think-
and then hang around at the end, and then you make your run for the
Right.
to the
Yeah.
end.
I think Christmas would have had a pretty good shot had she not have.
Wait, there's a person named Christmas?
Yes,
Yeah.
That's incredible.
she broke her foot though.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah, she's
Christmas
done.
came early, I guess.
Alex is the last one I'll throw out there. Alex, I think she's
I like
got a
Alex.
shot. I think she's kind of going under the radar right now, but she can play a little bit. She can
Yeah.
compete. She stands up for herself. She doesn't necessarily flock. She doesn't lie. That might be a problem though.
And she's aligning with Paul right now, so I can't condone that.
She does look like she's
y'all done?
she's got some competition to her.
All right, thanks so much for joining us, Mark.
Hey,
Hey,
this was fun. We'll do it again.
It was a
Enjoy.
blast.
Absolutely, that'd be awesome.
go follow him on Twitter at Mark R Sports. Listen to him on Sports Channel from 11 to 2.
Cool. If you've listened to us before, you probably know that here at the Thunderheads podcast, we like to drink.
Fact.
And if you haven't heard, Twisted Spike is the best new brewery in Oklahoma City, hands down.
It's also a fact. Listen, there's a reason we partner with these guys. I mean, their beers, first of all, they're awesome. And they're in all the best restaurants and bars all over the state of Oklahoma. The best part about them, though, is their ginormous tap room. It's located prime time Oklahoma City, right off of I-235 in downtown.
They have TVs all over the place if you want to catch a game. It's a great spot if you want to get some work done, hang with friends, or you could just talk thunder and beer with their awesome bartenders.
And they're all over the food truck game as well. They're coming in and out throughout the week for all their events. They got musicians coming through. The place is legit, man.
So check out Twisted Spike today, and on your way out, make sure you grab a growler of your favorite brew so you can enjoy it at your home or office. The boss won't mind, probably.
Not if you hide it. If you hide it, well. At Twisted Spike, we make beer we like to drink and toast to those who choose to drink it with us.
Who's that guy? Who's that guy? Who's that guy?
He better be worth it. He better go home and cure a disease or invent a longer lasting light bulb. That's what I was trying to say.
There it is.
He got it in. He got it in. Okay, this version of today's...
Saving Private Ryan. Did I get it?
Well,
Nailed it.
screwed. Fuck off.
I got it too. It's Saving Private Ryan. This version of...
Saving Private Ryan.
I
Sorry.
hate all of you.
This
so
is-
much.
This is why we shouldn't record at a brewery.
This version of Who's That Guy. So what we're going to do is I'm going to present, this is going to be stat based. So I'm going to present a comparison. There's going to be 2, maybe 3 people at some point. I'm going to say, which one of these 2 guys scores more points per game next season, okay? So let's start there. Points per game. Enes Kanter or Steven Adams. Last year, Enes Kanter averaged 14.3 points a game. points a game. Steven Adams averaged 11.3 points a game. Who you guys got? Who's that guy?
Ooh.
Sorry.
I'm going to hot take this and go Steven Adams.
I'm getting hot. I'm getting too hot.
I hope.
What's your reasoning? Sorry.
The thing I've been harping on so much since the floor spacing looks so much better is he has room to have fun in the paint.
Right.
I think that's going to make a huge difference. I think now knowing that he's making that much money, it's going to affect him. And so I think he's going to go out there. And Brandon dropped his mic. Like a
I
dumbass.
think it's broken.
I think he's going to go out there and really perform really well. I think he's going to score more points.
What do you think, Rob?
Yeah, I agree. I would take Steven
Really?
Adams. I hope so.
I actually agree as well. So we're all just down on Cantor so hard.
Well, it's
that
good.
poor guy.
It's good for the Thunder, I think.
So what's your number for Steven Adams next year then? Like your points per game number for him that you're kind of thinking here.
I think 14.
That'd be impressive.
That's solid. That would with Paul George and Russ on the team. I think that's a solid number.
Yeah.
So you're thinking maybe Enes Kanter is not as big of an option of coming off the bench as he was last year? Maybe because you implement McDermott a little bit. Maybe because Felton has the ability to get
You
to the
can
rim
run
a
some
little bit.
system. You can actually run offense.
Yeah, I think you'll see Abrinas. I think you'll see McDermott. I'm hoping that those two guys will. But I mean, they're not going to. It's not going to be a huge jump. But I'm hoping that those guys will have a jump in points as well. And then, maybe Kanter won't be on this team. So.
Is anyone going to make a hot take and say that maybe if Kanter is on this team, that he has a Utah episode and is not happy any longer because his role has diminished because the bench has gotten better?
I don't think that's going to happen. I think
He loves
Enes
this
likes
place.
it here too much. And I think I'm not saying that
Russell
Enes-
Westbrook is like his idol.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and say that Enes Kanter is going to have like some huge like regression in what he's producing. And hell, I might be wrong. He might be even better. He might be even more useful to this team coming off the bench. What Mark was talking about earlier. Like Mark's a big Enes fan. I am too. So I'm not going to. I just think that Steven Adams has more production because of the role.
I think Ennis has spent most of his offseason building small clay statues of Russell because he loves him so much. So he's not going to get bummed out and leave.
He should sell those on Etsy.
He should. I would buy one.
Well, I'll be the one to make the hot take then. I think he's going to want to leave. I think he's going to want to trade, which is going to just diminish his trade value even more.
Yeah.
If he were to,
if he wanted to, he'd be like, well.
yeah. All right. This is also points. This is 3 people though. Okay. Andre Robertson, Doug McDermott. Yeah, Andre Robertson and Doug McDermott both averaged 6.6 points per game with the Thunder last year, or Alex Abrinas, who averaged 6 a game on the dot.
Bobby?
I'll take.
Ooh, tough.
Yeah, it is tough.
This one's hard.
I'm definitely not taking McDermott. I'm gonna take Abrinas just because I hope that his role expands. We see he will. I'm hoping he'll flourish with Raymond Felton in the limited time that Raymond Felton will be out there. But I think that there's going to be a bigger role this season for Abrinas than there was last year, and hopefully he can 10 points a game would be nice.
10 points a game
be
would
awesome.
be a huge leap.
Yeah.
That'd be substantial.
But you're also
especially
looking-
if you're saying Adams is going to leap to 14, Abrinas leaps to 10.
This is us just scoring so many points.
170 points. a
Yeah,
game.
we're just scoring all the points.
Yeah, and you added Paul George.
Well, I think Russ is going to fall down because
I'll
of
bet.
Paul George. I mean, you're going to see certain. I don't think Kanter. I mean, obviously, I think Kanter's going to drop a little bit.
So hold on. Let's hang on that. Realistically, how much do you see Russ falling back? Like 5 points a game, something around there?
Probably, yeah.
About 26 a game,
Yeah,
something like that.
that sounds like doable. Like where he's still.
Russ can get 26 a game in his sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
He could do it in a quarter.
Yeah, and
Easily.
like he's going to make it a point, right, to implement Paul George in this offense.
Oh, yeah.
That's Russ's attitude, I think, and people don't realize that. Even when you look at the last season when Kevin Durant was here, I mean, that's what he did,
He
man.
was trying to do
Well,
it.
I think it'll be interesting to see Russ defer like he does, like he did last year at the beginning of games, where he'll defer and then crunch time it's going to be Russ time, and so I think it'll be interesting to watch that happen again, and hopefully, they'll be better off with Paul George rather than Oladipo in that role.
Well, I
would hope so. Yeah.
All right, let's do another Kanter Adams comparison. Let's do rebounds though. Last year Kanter averaged 6.7, Adams averaged 7.7. Jason, who's that guy?
I'm gonna go Adams. I think he's gonna get more time. I just think he's gonna get more time, and he's gonna be more free to just focus on you play defense, you
Right.
get rebounds, you get lobs. That's your job,
I
and
think
that's
you're
what
right
you do
about
now.
that. And if Cantor's role diminishes a little bit, like we've been talking about, his numbers are going to go down.
Yeah.
And then he's going to ask for a trade.
So
I'm totally talking myself into this hot take. All right, let's talk about three-pointers made over the course of the season. This is a fun one right here. This one's for you, Justin. Russell Westbrook made 200 last year. So Russell Westbrook or Paul George, who made 195 last year.
Man.
At a much better percentage.
Do you know how many each of them shot? Because that's
I guarantee you Russ shot more.
about 500. He shot about 500 to Paul's 200.
So Russ made 200 last year. Paul George made 195 last year.
Paul George, just because, like you guys just talked about, I do agree that Russ is going to be in that, hey, you're my friend, here, have this ball. Hey, you should put that ball in there's like a circle thing.
Mm-hmm.
Is that
You should put it in
because
there.
like Russ is friends with the ball and he's friends with Paul George?
Yeah.
So he's like, here, friends.
Yeah, exactly.
You guys be friends.
It's like when you have
You know?
three guys, like if two guys are friends, you can have that third friend be friends.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it just makes sense.
It's like now they're a little group of friends.
Yeah, exactly.
You agree with that, Paul George?
No, I would say Russ.
Really?
Yeah.
So do you think he's going to be jacking him up at the same
Oh,
rate that he
God,
was
that's
last
a
year?
little scary, Rob.
I don't know it'll be at the same rate, but it'll be similar. I mean, I think that's just who Russ is. I mean, I would like for him to be more efficient, and obviously that means shooting less threes, but I mean, that's who Russ is. I mean, he'll...
You're a loose cannon.
He is, and
He
as soon
is
as
a
he
little bit
as soon as he sees that first one that goes in,
Oh,
you
yeah,
just know it's going
it's
to be
game over.
a 10 3-point field goal attempts that night.
And
so.
we've revealed that crazy stat of the Thunder's record when he does shoot 10 or more threes. It got better as the year went on somehow because he started making more of them. But, I hope it's Paul George.
I do too.
More. I think that makes more sense.
I'm on board with Justin here. I think Russ gets a little more sherry than he has been in the past.
Sherry.
Sherry, that's a new word that I made up.
I got a split off question from that.
Okay.
So, once again, floor spacing. Because that's like the theme of my summer, by the way, is
You and
floor
Billy
spacing.
Donovan, very,
Yeah.
very spaced. Very, very spaced.
Very
Justin
roomy.
actually just rearranged his furniture where there's nothing in the middle of it.
So,
Just a Steven Adams like character.
do you guys think
What is
that
that?
the Thunder shoot fewer threes per game, but make them at a higher percentage than last year?
I think they take more.
I think they take
I
more.
see that's
a better
That's kind
percentage.
of it's what it seems like, but you also have to think like, okay, so they shot threes at a really high rate and were very bad at shooting those threes.
Very, very
but
bad.
because the paint was so packed, defenses knew that they could just sink in the paint. So you don't want to just pull up with a 15-footer necessarily. You might as well take a step back, take a few steps back, take the three.
Right.
So I think because the paint was so packed, they just kind of shot threes. They just kind of jacked
Right.
threes a bunch. So that number went way up on attempts.
Mm-hmm.
I think with that floor spacing, they don't have to rely on that shot so much. I think they're more capable players of taking those shots, but they take fewer of them and therefore make.
I think that's a really good point, actually.
Make
Like-
it a higher percentage.
It's a good point, but
Yeah.
in today's NBA, you got to be able to shoot the
I
three.
mean,
Take
that's-
a lot of threes.
That's a really good. The usage.
It's almost
of-
better.
The 3-point usage has gone up just almost exponentially over the
For
last
sure, yeah.
5 seasons.
doubt about it.
Like if you look at the numbers, like hell, there was like 5 years ago, Memphis was taking like 13 a game. And that's insane to hear. Like they were taking 13 3-pointers a game.
Oh, yeah.
The Grizzlies.
Houston takes that in like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. No, you're right. You're right. But I think you can expect 6 to 7 threes a game for Paul George that he's going to take at least. You can expect 6 to 7 to 8 to 9 to 10 for Russell Westbrook. You don't know.
It's a
I mean,
20, maybe.
Just
But-
depends on the
Here and there.
day, how
something
he
that,
feels.
while you were talking about that, something that popped in my head. If Russell Westbrook does attempt a lot more threes than Paul George in this coming season, that's going to be a problem. I mean,
probably would be.
a problem is going to come from that, because Paul George is probably going to be shooting around 40%. Russ is going to be down there around 34%. That's statistically, that's not what you want. Okay, let's move on. Same category. 3-pointers made.
Uh-oh.
Doug McDermott,
I knew it.
who made 77 last year, as a whole, not just as the Thunder, as a whole.
Oh, right.
Or Patrick Patterson, who made 94 last year. Who's that guy?
Bob?
No, go ahead, Jason. You
No,
go.
it's Bob.
It's Bob.
Oh gosh, I'm gonna take Patrick Patterson.
Woo! That's what I was going to say.
Well,
Patty, pat,
oh.
pat, pat.
Jason's just excited someone agreed with him.
Yeah, I thought I was going to be in the minority there.
But with that starting lineup, like I think that he's gonna have open shots.
Yeah.
And hopefully he's gonna be able to nail them. But I think if he struggles, I sort of worry about what that means for this team, and so I don't want to think about that.
Yeah.
he just puts it right out of his mind.
Yeah.
You're right,
know?
and I think something that people don't address is the fact that he averaged only like 6.6 points a game last year. I mean, almost 30 minutes a game. So you think about that with a guy like this who's been in the league for a long time. He's not changing. He's not all of a sudden going to score 11, 12 a game.
He is who he is.
He is who he is.
And I feel like we've talked about this a little bit, that people kind of overvalue him just because, hey, we got Patrick Patterson, like he's awesome. But like, he's going to have some struggles. There's going to be stretches of time where Thunder fans are like, God damn it, this guy cannot hit a shot.
Right.
But then he'll have stretches of time where he's pretty awesome. So he's a $5 million player. He's a role player. That's kind of what he is.
I'm a hot take, and I'm going to say Doug McDermott.
Woo! You're going to get Dougie more involved like I was talking about?
It's more my faith that they can find a role for Doug McDermott to really contribute at the level that I know that he wants to and that he's capable of. I mean, we saw games last year where the Thunder are in dire need of offense. Dougie comes off the bench and makes 2-3 shots in a row, and you're like, that's what we need.
And his little off-the-dribble like floater thing that he does, I'm a huge fan of.
Where he doesn't look at the rim and it's
he just
lucky.
I got the hot.
No one saw that. But
I'm going to jump on your choo-choo train as it rolls
by. Speaking of.
I'm going to go with Dougie McDermott just because I think Pat ends up slipping to the paint and being more effective there. So he doesn't necessarily have to take as many threes. But Doug McDermott has already complained about he wants to be more involved. He gets more involved, puts up some threes, puts them in the basket. Dougie McDermott.
Speaking of his complaints, my hot take is that Enes Kanter and Doug McDermott will both be off of this team before the end of the season.
I don't think that's too hot of a take because
that's pretty solid of a take.
That's the two best assets that you can actually lose.
I think that there's going to be I think there's still.
And if we could just tuck Kyle Singler in there without fine print him in that that trade,
pencil him in.
I think to really prove it to Russ that you're moving forward, and Paul George looks great, being able to pull that off. But to really prove it, I think they're going to have to pull in another piece, and that's going to require getting rid of Kanter and McDermott for somebody who I think will come off of the bench and be more of a useful player than either of those two.
I just imagined Kyle Singler getting off the plane with McDermott and Kanter, and the other team just being like, "Oh no, what? No.
This isn't what we paid for." Okay, we got to move on.
Twitter questions?
No.
Nope.
Got more.
You got more.
Blocks. This one's going to be really tough and impossible to answer.
Jeremy Grant.
There's 3 people here. And yes, Jeremy Grant is one of those. He had 75 blocks last year. Steven Adams had 78. And Andre Robertson led the team with 79.
Ooh.
Who's that guy?
Man, I'm sorry for saying Jeremy Grant because I didn't know Dre was going to be a part of this little.
Of course he is.
Is it bad if a player off the bench leads your team in blocks?
Kind of.
Probably.
Not
it's not the best.
Necessarily. If he's playing similar-ish minutes and he's a freak athlete,
but how many minutes do you realistically expect from Jeremy Grant next year? Because I don't expect
probably
more than
less,
20 a game.
I was going to say 17.
If it's more than 20, I would be concerned.
He's a freak athlete that's going to be spending time around the painted area.
Sure.
That's the only reason. But I'm going to go Dre. Just
wait. Did you say Grant?
No, okay, I said Grant, but then I was trying to waffle back to Dre, and then you cut me off.
Gotcha.
I'm going to say Dre.
Just say all of them, Ty.
Yeah. That's it. Every single one of them finishes the season with 87.
Ooh,
wow, that'd be awesome. I mean, no one would score ever.
I'm going Adams.
Adams?
Dre.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Well, I didn't know he was a part of the conversation.
I'm going Adams too, Rob. I think that he'll be more effective this year. He's going to learn to pick his spots a little better.
I feel like I'm biased because I watched a Dre highlight video where he blocked Giannis today, and it was just awesome.
Now we got a couple funnier ones.
Ooh.
DNPs.
Kyle
Christian?
Singler.
Samaje Christian or Kyle Singler?
Kyle Singler.
You think so?
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Can we clarify real quick? Is this what we want to happen, or is this what we think will
happen?
Expect to happen. It's a prediction.
I think it's still Kyle Singler.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kyle Singler.
Yeah. Okay, how about Kyle Singler or Josh Eustace?
Ooh, Josh Eustace wins.
You think he's going to get more DNPs?
Yeah.
You don't think this is the year he finally takes over the Kyle Singler role of not contributing?
Because Billy's still going to do the Kyle Singler thing where he's like, well, just go and get a half a minute or two. Foul guy 14 times.
I'm going Kyle Singler.
I'm going Kyle Singler too.
I think this
Me and
is-
Rob are on the
Fuck
same
you
page
guys.
today.
How about that?
I
Got
think
upset. I'm sorry.
this is where Sam Presti walks into Billy's office and was like, you know what?
Just stop.
We kept trying this whole Kyle Singler
Right.
thing. Let's just put it to bed.
I've talked about it, I think, last podcast. I don't expect Kyle Singler to be on this opening night roster. I don't think he's going to be.
If he is,
All right, last one. Technical fouls. Russell Westbrook, who had 15 last year,
Pretty solid.
or Paul George and Billy Donovan combined. There's no V in that word. Combined, who they combined had 17 last year compared to Russell Westbrook's 15 last year. Fun fact. Paul George led the league last year. He was ejected 4 times.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
I don't.
But he was very upset. You
Yeah.
got to give him that. Like,
He
he
was
was
upset.
upset. Clearly, he was just throwing teammates under the bus every
DeMarcus
night.
Cousins gets all
Didn't
this
care.
heat. It should be Paul
It's
George.
Paul George. He's the wild card.
No, but really, Russell Westbrook. Or wow, I did not know he had that sound.
Oh,
Or
yeah.
Paul George plus Billy Donovan. Who you guys got?
Paul George plus Billy Donovan.
For sure.
Because Russ is a dad.
You think he's dadding this year?
Yeah, I think his dad mentality takes over on the court.
Or his dad's strength takes over and he throws a ref into the stands. Ejected for
Yeah,
the year.
maybe if Noah was being threatened by that
Expelled.
ref, sure.
Expelled.
But unless Noah's part of that,
Yeah, that's
Russ
true.
isn't going around dad strengthening things.
I like how Russ calls his son Noah. No.
No.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's pretty good.
Now it's time for. What is it time for, Jason?
It's time for notes.
Okay.
Notes!
Okay, the Thunder will kick their preseason off with a matchup against James Harden, CP3, and the Houston Rockets.
Who?
On a-
Gonna beat that ass.
what did I say? Did I say something wrong?
No, you didn't.
No.
Who are they?
James Harden, CP3,
CP3,
CP3.
and the Houston Rockets on October 3rd in Tulsa at the BOK. Tickets are on sale now, so if you want to go.
You guys
those
going?
on?
No.
No, probably not.
I don't do preseason.
If you guys
man.
want to go, I'll go.
I do the real thing.
Oh, all right.
If it's at the peak, then maybe I'll go. But I'm not going
BOK
to
doesn't
Tulsa.
seem like a good time.
I'm not welcome.
I'm not going to Tulsa to
anymore.
watch Russell Westbrook play 12 minutes. You know?
If.
Paul George won't play because he'll still be in Spain.
I'm in Ibiza just partying,
This is always in Spain.
Suddenly he's a hick.
Okay, the majority of the Thunder's roster plans to gather this week in Santa Monica, California for workouts organized by Russell Westbrook. Paul George, Nick Collison, and Alex Abrinas will not be there. Nick Collison, I think he's too old.
He's just too old.
Yeah, but Paul,
Yeah, he's too old.
Paul George still in Spain, as we said. Alex Abrinas also in Spain. Are they hanging out?
They should hang out. They're
should
both
hang
in
out.
Ibiza right now.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Text them.
I don't have their numbers, weirdly enough.
Email them.
Oh, okay. I got their emails.
No, so they won't be there. No word on Terrence Ferguson yet, though. Which
Well, he's still in FIBA court, I think.
I don't
He's
know
just
what's
in
going
London,
on there,
just
man. We gotta
standing.
release that podcast with the interview. Okay, the Pacers reportedly offered Cleveland Paul George in exchange for Kyrie Irving many of times.
Oh, God.
Do you guys just feel?
Oh, man.
How lucky do you feel? Though?
The most lucky.
The-
like, the amount of trades that possibly were going to happen seconds away from
Right.
happening. And then somehow we're like, well, there's Victor and this guy who's tall.
Yeah,
You know, he's wide
his
and tall.
dad was good.
His dad taught him how to play ball.
Sam Presti is a Jedi.
And they're like, yeah, that sounds better.
Do you really think that Sam Presti possesses these powers where he can really
I think
perform
so.
mind tricks?
Yes.
No, I'm pretty
he
sure.
can't do any of the cool like physical stuff or wield a lightsaber.
Yeah.
But he's got Jedi
You
mind
don't know that
tricks.
for sure. You don't know that for
Good
sure.
point. Good point, Jason.
Yeah, point, Jason.
Adam Silver said league expansion is inevitable and that Seattle will be on the short list of cities that the NBA will look at. I wish that they would get a team just so we can stop hearing about
So
it.
they'd stop being angry at us, maybe?
I want them to get a team and
And then just be
them
terrible.
to not beat Oklahoma City for at least 25 years.
Or they get a team, stays in the Western Conference, and they're like, well, now we got to do a conference realignment. OKC goes to the East.
That'd be
And then
cool.
we're in the finals every year.
I think the Grizzlies would be the first one
God
to go to East.
damn it.
Or maybe
Yeah,
the
they would.
Timberwolves.
The
Or
Grizzlies. The
Pelicans?
Grizzlies makes the most sense.
Or Timberwolves. The
geographically.
Timberwolves are pretty far over there.
Or that Seattle team just relocates to Oklahoma City.
No, Tulsa gets a team now.
Oh, yeah.
God, they would hate us so much.
Oh, Tulsa would be annoying, though, because they would just argue with Oklahoma City.
I'm from there.
Once again, I'm fine with them not beating Oklahoma City for 25 years, or them going 78-4. And all 4 of those losses being Oklahoma City. And then beating us in the conference finals and getting swept.
That's all we care about. The Thunder's icon and association jerseys are now official and will go on sale on September 29th. You probably saw them on Twitter. They look the exact same pretty much.
Exactly the same.
Minor changes.
If you think they're darker, it's because you're looking at the wrong picture.
Yeah, probably. I don't know.
It's a bummer.
I still think they look a little bit like the blue is different. I sent you guys this picture. The blue looks a little bit different to me.
They used a slightly darker Pantone swatch.
We're gonna have to wait to see them on the court to actually know.
Exactly.
Slightly darker
Pantone swatch.
Pantone swatch. Okay.
Yep. It's a color thing.
That's not a thing.
I've been having to use it for our shirts. We're about to have new shirts, by the way.
We are about to.
So
that can fit in notes. We'll squeeze that in.
We'll throw that in there.
Yeah, we are. They're going to be. What are they going to look like? Tell them.
They're going to be a heather white, soft as a baby's bottom T-shirt. Not made out of actual baby's bottoms, but
they're not. I don't want to end that.
That's
they're the
creepy.
extra babies that no one wanted.
Oh God!
Oh God!
Went down a bad road.
But then with the red Thunderheads and it'll be good.
Orange. It's more
Orange-ish.
orange. It's more orange.
Hey, whoa! Sunset.
It's not sunset because we'll get sued.
We will get sued.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
It's a mix of red and orange, you could say.
Sunrise.
That's called
It's a
that.
sunrise.
Yeah,
It's a sunrise color.
There
Yeah.
we go.
I like that. Hey, sorry we couldn't get to Twitter questions. We ran out of time. We went overboard on the discussion and the game. We will. What are we going to do? Roll them over to next week's mailbag episode.
For sure.
We're going to have you guys send in all the questions, so we'll answer them then. I promise. Thanks for listening, and thanks again to Mark Rodgers of the Sports Animal for joining us. That was awesome.
And thank you to Twisted Spike for hosting us.
Absolutely.
This was awesome.
That was going to be the next thing I said. This was really cool. Podcasting at Twisted Spike. You guys are going to have to come up, check it out. And, hey, follow us on Twitter at OKC Thunderheads. And Justin's over at Thunder Tie. Subscribe on iTunes. Leave us a review.
Don't forget Thunder Mob.
Yeah, Thunder Mob, who is missing his second straight pod.
That son of a... No,
He's quitting. He's quitting.
No, he's awesome.
No,
at Thunder Mob 405 on Twitter.
Hey, go buy some of Twisted Spike's beer. It's delicious. You can find it at places, I promise. We'll catch you guys on Sunday. Until next time, Thunder up.
Hey, why am I so loud?
Man, Reba has some big old boobies on.
She does, but I bet they're saggy as shit when you get that bra off.